The scent of Ethan's cologne lingered on the silk scarf I found tucked between the seats of his car. It wasn't mine. My heart raced as I clutched the damning evidence, my world tilting on its axis. "Catalina? What are you doing out here?" Ethan's voice startled me. He stood in the doorway of our modest bungalow, silhouetted against the warm light spilling from inside. I quickly shoved the scarf into my pocket, plastering on a smile. "Just grabbing my phone charger, honey. Thought I left it in the car." Ethan's brow furrowed. "In this weather? It's freezing out here." I shrugged, trying to keep my voice steady. "You know me, always forgetful." As I brushed past him into the house, the scent of his cologne mingled with something else. Perfume, perhaps? My stomach churned. Ethan called from the living room. "Don't forget, we've got that industry party tomorrow night. It's important for my career." I gritted my teeth. Another night of playing the doting wife while Ethan schmoozed with producers and directors. Of course, dear, I wouldn't miss it. The phone rang, shattering the tense silence. I answered, grateful for the distraction. "Catalina? It's Aunt Madeline." "Aunt Maddie? How are you?" "I'm fine, dear, but I'm worried about you. Are you sure everything's all right with Ethan?" I glanced towards the living room, lowering my voice. "Everything's fine, Aunt Maddie. Why do you ask?" She sighed. "Call it a hunch. You know I've never quite trusted that man. And after what happened with your cousin Riley—" "Ethan isn't like that," I snapped, more harshly than I intended. "He loves me." "If you say so, dear. Just be careful, all right?" After hanging up, I leaned against the wall, closing my eyes. Aunt Madeline's words echoed in my head, mingling with the memory of that silk scarf. Who was that? Ethan appeared in the hallway, startling me again. "Just Aunt Madeline," I replied, forcing a smile. "Checking in." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "She still doesn't approve of me, does she?" I shook my head. "She's just protective. You know how family can be." He snorted. "Yeah, well, maybe if they saw how hard I'm working to provide for us, they'd change their tune." The words stung. I'd given up my own theater career to support Ethan's acting dreams. Now, with his star finally rising, it felt like he was slipping away. "Speaking of work," Ethan continued, "I've got an early meeting tomorrow. I'm heading to bed." As he turned away, I blurted out, "Ethan, wait, we need to talk." He paused, looking annoyed. "Can't it wait? I'm tired." I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "I found something in your car." His expression changed, a flicker of panic crossing his face before settling into practiced nonchalance. "Oh, what's that?" I reached into my pocket, my fingers brushing against the silky fabric. This was it, the moment of truth. But as I looked at Ethan, his handsome face etched with fatigue and stress, I faltered. It's nothing," I mumbled, withdrawing my empty hand. "Just some old scripts. I'll sort through them tomorrow." Ethan's shoulders relaxed visibly. "Great. Good night, Cat." As he disappeared upstairs, I sank onto the couch, the scarf burning a hole in my pocket. What was I doing? Why couldn't I confront him? The truth was, I was scared of losing everything I'd sacrificed for, scared of admitting that maybe, just maybe, Aunt Madeline and the rest of my family had been right all along. But as I sat there in the darkened living room, a new emotion began to simmer beneath the fear and doubt. Anger. How dare he betray me like this? How dare he take advantage of my love and support? I pulled out my phone, my fingers hovering over Aunt Madeline's number. No, I couldn't call her. Not yet. I needed proof. I needed a plan. Tomorrow night's party suddenly took on a new significance. If Ethan thought he could play me for a fool, he was in for a rude awakening. It was time to take control of my own story. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my dress for the industry party. The silk scarf I'd found in Ethan's car lay on the dresser, a constant reminder of my suspicions. As I applied my lipstick, memories of our early days flooded back. "Cat, you ready?" Ethan called from downstairs. "We can't be late." "Coming," I replied, grabbing my clutch and heading down. Ethan whistled appreciatively. "You look stunning, babe." For a moment, I saw the man I fell in love with, charming, attentive, full of dreams. But the illusion shattered as he checked his phone, frowning. "Everything okay?" I asked. He nodded distractedly. "Just some last-minute script changes. Let's go." The party was in full swing when we arrived. Ethan immediately dove into the crowd, leaving me alone at the bar. I ordered a glass of wine, watching him work the room. "Well, if it isn't Catalina Morgan," a familiar voice said behind me. I turned to see Philip, my old theater colleague. "Phil, what are you doing here?" He grinned. I'm producing now. Heard about a hot new actor named Ethan Morgan and had to check him out. Didn't realize he was your husband. I forced a smile. Small world, huh? Philip's eyes narrowed. You okay, Kat? You seem... off. Before I could respond, Ethan appeared, slipping an arm around my waist. There you are, darling. Oh, hello, I'm Ethan Morgan. Philip Reeves, Phil replied, shaking Ethan's hand. I was just catching up with Kat here. We used to work together in theater. Ethan's grip on my waist tightened. Is that so? Kat never mentioned you. The tension was palpable. I cleared my throat. Phil was just telling me about his producing work. Right, Phil said, his gaze flicking between us. Actually, Ethan, I'd love to chat about a project I'm developing. Got a minute? As they walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I mingled half-heartedly, keeping an eye on Ethan and Phil. Their conversation seemed intense, with lots of gesturing and hushed tones. An hour later, Ethan found me again, his eyes bright with excitement. Kat, you won't believe this. Philip's offered me the lead in his new film. My stomach dropped. That's great, honey. When does it start? We begin pre-production next month. It's a 6-month shoot in Vancouver. 6 months. The room started to spin. Kat, you okay? Ethan's voice sounded distant. I nodded weakly. Just need some air. I stumbled onto the balcony, gulping in the cool night air. This couldn't be happening. Just as I was starting to suspect Ethan's infidelity, he lands a role that'll take him away for months? Catalina? It was Philip. What's going on? I turned to him, tears threatening to spill. Nothing. Everything's fine. He sighed. Come on, Kat. I know you better than that. Is it the role? Because if you're not comfortable with Ethan taking it. No, I interrupted. It's not that. It's just... I hesitated, then made a decision. Phil, can I trust you? His expression softened. Of course. Taking a deep breath, I told him everything. My suspicions, the scarf, the late nights, and secretive phone calls. As I spoke, Phil's face grew increasingly concerned. Kat, I'm so sorry, he said when I finished. But listen, maybe this film is a good thing. It'll give you some space to figure things out. I nodded, wiping my eyes. You're right. Thanks, Phil. As we headed back inside, I spotted Ethan deep in conversation with a stunning redhead. Their body language was unmistakable. Heads close together, her hand on his arm, his eyes locked on hers. Fury rose in my chest. How dare he? Here, in public, where anyone could see. Phil followed my gaze. Oh, that's Amanda. She's playing opposite Ethan in the film. In that moment, everything crystallized. I knew what I had to do. Phil, I said, my voice steady. I think I'd like to come to Vancouver after all, as your assistant. His eyebrows shot up. Are you sure? I nodded, my eyes never leaving Ethan and Amanda. Absolutely. It's time I got back into the business. As we rejoined the party, a plan began to form in my mind. Ethan thought he could have it all. The career, the adoring wife, and his little affairs on the side. Well, he was in for a rude awakening. Vancouver wouldn't know what hit it. Vancouver's skyline glittered outside my hotel window, a far cry from our modest bungalow back home. I'd been here for 2 weeks, watching Ethan's star rise with each passing day, and with it his ego. Kat, have you seen my lucky cufflinks? Ethan's voice echoed from the bathroom. I sighed, fishing them out of my purse. Here, he emerged, looking dashing in his tuxedo. Thanks, babe. You're not dressed yet? The premiere starts in an hour. I'm not feeling well, I lied. You go ahead without me. Ethan's brow furrowed. You sure? It's a big night for me. I know. Break a leg. As soon as the door closed behind him, I sprang into action. I'd been biding my time gathering intel. Tonight was the night I'd start putting my plan into motion. I dialed Phil's number. He's gone. You ready? On my way, Phil replied. 15 minutes later, we were huddled over my laptop in the hotel room. You sure about this, Kat? Phil asked, concern etched on his face. I nodded grimly. He needs to be exposed, Phil, for what he's done to me, to our marriage. We spent the next hour combing through Ethan's emails and text messages. What we found made my blood run cold. Look at this, Phil pointed to an email chain. He's been planning to leave you for months. Says here he's waiting for the right moment to maximize publicity. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them away. Keep looking. As we dug deeper, a pattern emerged. Ethan had been systematically using people to climb the Hollywood ladder. Old friends, fellow actors, even his own family, all pawns in his game. Kat, Phil's voice was soft. There's something else you should see. He pulled up a series of messages between Ethan and Amanda, his co-star. My heart sank as I read their intimate exchanges. Plans for secret rendezvous, promises of a future together. "I'm so sorry," Phil said, squeezing my hand. I pulled away, anger replacing hurt. "Don't be. This is exactly what I needed." Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Where are you? Press is asking about you." I smirked, an idea forming. "Phil, how fast can you get me to that premiere?" 30 minutes later, I strode down the red carpet, cameras flashing. Ethan's jaw dropped when he saw me. "Kat, what are you doing here? I thought you were sick." I plastered on my best smile for the cameras. "And miss your big night?" "Never." As we posed for photos, I whispered in his ear, "We need to talk. Now." We ducked into a quiet corner, away from prying eyes. "What's going on?" Ethan hissed. I met his gaze steadily. "I know everything, Ethan. The affairs, the manipulation, your plans to leave me for publicity." The color drained from his face. "Kat, I can explain." "Save it," I cut him off. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to end things with Amanda, quietly. You're going to finish this film, and then we're going home to sort out our divorce. On my terms." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "And if I don't?" I smiled coldly. "Then I go public with everything I've found, every sordid detail. How do you think that'll play for your rising star?" For a moment, I saw a flicker of the old Ethan, vulnerable, uncertain, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "You wouldn't dare," he snarled. "Try me." We stared each other down, the sounds of the premiere fading into the background. This was it, the point of no return. Ethan finally broke the silence. "Fine, you win, for now." As he stormed off, I leaned against the wall, my heart pounding. I'd done it, I'd stood up to him, but this was just the beginning. Phil appeared at my side. "You okay?" I took a deep breath, straightening my shoulders. "I will be. Come on, we've got a show to put on." As we rejoined the party, I caught sight of Amanda across the room. Our eyes met, and I saw a flicker of guilt cross her face. Good. Let her squirm. The game was on, and I was playing to win. The Vancouver shoot was wrapping up, and with it, my patience. Ethan's transformation was complete. He'd become a stranger, consumed by his own hype and Hollywood's glitter. I stood in our hotel suite, packing up the last of our belongings. Ethan burst in, his face flushed with excitement. "Kat, you won't believe this. I've been offered the lead in a major studio film. It's huge." I forced a smile. "That's great, honey. When does it start?" "That's the thing," he said, avoiding my gaze. "It's a 3-picture deal. We'd have to move to LA permanently." The room spun. "What about our home? Our life back in?" "Come on, Kat," Ethan interrupted. "This is my big break. Our big break. Don't you want that for us?" I bit back a retort. "Us?" There hadn't been an us for months. "I need some air," I muttered, grabbing my coat. Vancouver's streets were a blur as I walked, my mind racing. How had we come to this? The modest dreams we once shared seemed like a lifetime ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Phil. "Emergency at the studio. Need you here ASAP." Grateful for the distraction, I hurried to the production office. Phil was pacing, looking agitated. "What's wrong?" I asked. He handed me a tablet. "Look at this." It was an entertainment news site. The headline made my blood run cold. "Rising star Ethan Morgan's secret double life exposed." The article detailed Ethan's affairs, including Amanda, complete with incriminating photos and text messages. My hands shook as I scrolled through it. "Kat, I swear I didn't leak this," Phil said, his voice urgent. I believed him. But if he didn't, who did? As if on cue, my phone rang. "Ethan, have you seen it?" he demanded without preamble. "I'm looking at it now," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "This is a disaster," he groaned. "My agent's going crazy, the studio's threatening to pull the deal." A cold clarity washed over me. "What do you want me to do, Ethan?" There was a pause. "We need to present a united front, show them we're rock solid. Can you do a joint interview with me? Deny everything?" The audacity of his request stunned me into silence. "Kat, are you there? This is important. My career is on the line here." His career. Of course, that's all that mattered to him now. "I'll think about it," I said, finally ending the call. Phil watched me warily. "What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath. "I don't know yet, but I'm done being a pawn in his game." Back at the hotel, Ethan was frantic. "There you are. We need to get our story straight before the press conference." "No," I said quietly. He froze. "What?" I said, "No, Ethan. I won't lie for you." His face darkened. "After everything I've done for us, this is how you repay me?" I laughed bitterly. "Everything you've done for us? You mean cheating on me? Planning to leave me for publicity? Ethan paled. How did you? It doesn't matter, I cut him off. What matters is I'm done. I won't be your prop anymore. He grabbed my arm. You can't do this to me, I'll be ruined. I yanked free. You did this to yourself. As I turned to leave, Ethan's voice stopped me. If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back. I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I met his gaze, seeing the stranger he'd become. In that moment, I made my decision. Goodbye, Ethan. I walked out, my heart pounding but my resolve firm. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing. I was reclaiming my life, my identity. As I stepped into the cool Vancouver night, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw the news. Time to tell your side of the story? Madeline Shaw, Lifestyle Magazine. I stared at the message, a plan forming in my mind. Maybe it was time to pick up that pen again, after all. I sat across from Madeline Shaw in a quiet cafe, my hands wrapped around a steaming mug of coffee. The veteran journalist studied me with keen eyes, her recorder placed between us. Are you sure you want to do this, Catalina? She asked, her voice gentle but probing. I took a deep breath. I'm sure. It's time the truth came out. As I began to speak, the words flowed like a dam breaking. I told her everything. The early days of love and sacrifice, the gradual erosion of our relationship, and finally the betrayal that shattered it all. Madeline listened intently, occasionally interjecting with questions. When I finished, she leaned back, a look of admiration on her face. You're incredibly brave, you know that? I shrugged, feeling drained but oddly liberated. I'm just tired of living a lie. As we wrapped up the interview, my phone buzzed. A text from Phil. Ethan's looking for you, says it's urgent. I sighed, thanking Madeline and heading back to the hotel. Ethan was pacing in our suite, his face a mask of fury. Where the hell have you been? He demanded. Out, I replied coolly. What's so urgent? He thrust his phone at me. On the screen was an email from his agent. My stomach dropped as I read it. They're canceling the deal, Ethan said, his voice trembling with rage. All because of those damn rumors. We need to fix this, Cat. Now. I handed the phone back, my resolve hardening. No, Ethan, we don't. His eyes widened in disbelief. What are you talking about? I'm done covering for you, I said, my voice steady. In fact, I just gave an interview to Madeline Shaw. The whole truth is coming out. The color drained from Ethan's face. You what? You heard me, I replied, standing my ground. No more lies, no more manipulation. It's over. Ethan's shock quickly morphed into anger. He grabbed my arm, his grip painfully tight. You can't do this to me. I'll ruin you. Cat, I swear I will. I yanked my arm free, adrenaline coursing through me. Go ahead and try. I'm not afraid of you anymore. As I turned to leave, Ethan's voice stopped me cold. What about Amanda? Did you tell them about the baby? I froze, my hand on the doorknob. What baby? Ethan's laugh was cruel. Oh, you didn't know? Amanda's pregnant. Guess I forgot to mention that little detail. The room spun. I steadied myself against the wall, fighting waves of nausea. A baby. Ethan and Amanda were having a baby. Cat? Phil's voice cut through the haze. He stood in the doorway, concern etched on his face. Everything okay? I brushed past him, needing to escape. The hotel corridors blurred as I ran, finally bursting out onto the street. The cool night air hit my face, bringing me back to reality. My phone buzzed. Madeline. Article's ready for review. You sure about this? I stared at the message, my mind reeling. The truth was out there now, waiting to be shared with the world. But at what cost? A child, an innocent life, would be caught in the crossfire. As I stood there, torn between vengeance and compassion, a memory surfaced. Aunt Madeline's voice, wise and gentle. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is show mercy, even to those who don't deserve it. I took a deep breath, my fingers hovering over the phone. This was it, the point of no return. Whatever I decided now would shape not just my future, but the lives of everyone involved. The city lights blurred as tears filled my eyes. I blinked them away, steeling myself for what came next. It was time to make a choice, one that I could live with, no matter the consequences. With trembling fingers, I typed my response to Madeline, sealing my fate and the fate of those around me. I stared at my phone, my finger hovering over the send button. The message to Madeline was simple. Hold the story. We need to talk. Just then, a knock at the door startled me. It was Phil, his face etched with concern. Cat, what's going on? I saw Ethan storming out of the hotel. I took a deep breath. Phil, I need your help. Things are about to get complicated. As I filled him in on the latest developments, including Amanda's pregnancy, Phil's expression shifted from shock to determination. What do you want to do? He asked. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Ethan's name flashed on the screen. With trembling hands, I answered. Kat, we need to talk. Ethan's voice was unnervingly calm. Meet me at the studio in an hour. Alone. I agreed, ending the call with a sense of foreboding. Phil grabbed my arm. You can't go alone. It's not safe. I shook my head. I have to do this, Phil, but I need you to do something for me. An hour later, I walked into the deserted studio. Ethan stood in the center of the soundstage, bathed in a single spotlight. I'm glad you came, he said, his voice echoing in the empty space. What do you want, Ethan? He stepped closer, his eyes glinting. I want a divorce, Kat, on my terms. The words hit me like a physical blow. Even though I'd seen it coming, the reality was devastating. Your terms? I managed to choke out. Ethan's smile was cold. You'll sign a non-disclosure agreement. You'll tell the press our split is amicable, and you'll walk away with nothing. Anger flared within me. And why would I agree to that? He pulled out his phone, playing a recording. My blood ran cold as I heard my own voice, detailing Ethan's affairs to Madeline Shaw. If this gets out, my career is over, Ethan said. But so is yours. No one in this industry will ever trust you again. I felt the walls closing in. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd sacrificed, was hanging by a thread. You have until tomorrow to decide, Ethan continued. Choose wisely, Kat. As he turned to leave, something inside me snapped. Years of suppressed anger and resentment bubbled to the surface. No, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Ethan paused. What did you say? I said no, Ethan. I won't be bullied into silence. Not anymore. He laughed, but I detected a note of uncertainty. You're bluffing. You wouldn't dare. I pulled out my own phone, hitting play on a recording I'd made earlier. Ethan's voice filled the studio, admitting to his affairs and manipulation. His face paled. How did you? I learned from the best, I replied, a grim smile on my face. You're not the only one who can play games, Ethan. For a moment, I saw fear in his eyes. Then his expression hardened. You'll regret this, Kat. I'll make sure of it. As he stormed out, my phone buzzed. A text from Phil. It's done. Check your email. With shaking hands, I opened my inbox. There it was, a contract from a major streaming service offering to turn my story into a limited series. Tears stung my eyes as the reality sank in. This was it, my chance to reclaim my voice, my story. But as the adrenaline faded, doubt crept in. Was I ready for the world to know everything? Could I handle the scrutiny, the judgment? My phone buzzed again. This time it was Aunt Madeline. Remember who you are, Kat, her message read. Your story deserves to be told. I took a deep breath, feeling a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years, it was mine to choose. With renewed determination, I dialed Madeline Shaw's number. It was time to tell my story, on my terms. As the phone rang, I steeled myself for what was to come. The real battle was just beginning. The studio lights were blinding as I sat across from Madeline Shaw, my heart pounding. This was it, the moment of truth. We're live in 3, 2, 1. The producer's voice faded as the red light blinked on. Madeline smiled warmly. Welcome, Catalina. Thank you for joining us today. I took a deep breath. Thank you for having me, Madeline. Your story has captivated the nation. She began. A Hollywood fairy tale turned nightmare. Can you tell us what really happened? As I began to speak, the words flowed easier than I expected. I recounted the early days with Ethan, the sacrifices I'd made, and the gradual erosion of our relationship. And then, I said, my voice steady, I found evidence of his affairs. Madeline leaned in. How did you react? At first I was devastated, I admitted, but then I got angry. And that anger turned into determination. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it, focusing on the interview. You mentioned a turning point, Madeline prompted. Can you elaborate? I nodded, steeling myself. It was when I discovered Ethan's plan to divorce me for publicity. He wanted to use our breakup to boost his career. The studio fell silent. Even Madeline looked shocked. That's quite an accusation, she said carefully. Do you have proof? This was the moment I'd been dreading and preparing for. I pulled out my phone, playing the recording of Ethan's admission. As his voice filled the studio, I saw the crew exchanging glances. Madeline's eyes widened. Catalina, she said softly, This is extraordinary. Are you prepared for the consequences of sharing this? Before I could answer, the studio door burst open. Ethan stormed in, his face contorted with rage. "Cut the cameras," he shouted. "This interview is over." The studio erupted into chaos. Security guards rushed in, but Ethan pushed past them, reaching for my phone. "You can't do this, Kat," he hissed. "Think about Amanda, the baby." I stood my ground, my voice surprisingly calm. "I have thought about them, Ethan. That's why I'm doing this. The truth needs to come out." He lunged for me, but Phil appeared out of nowhere, restraining him. "It's over, Ethan," Phil said firmly. "Let her speak." As security dragged Ethan away, his shouts echoing through the studio, I turned back to a stunned Madeline. "I'm so sorry," I began, but she held up a hand. "No apologies necessary," she said, a glint of admiration in her eyes. "This is the most riveting television I've seen in years." The producer approached, looking nervous. "We're still live. What do you want to do?" Madeline looked at me questioningly. This was my chance to back out, to keep some semblance of privacy. But as I looked around the studio, at Phil's encouraging nod, at the crew's expectant faces, at Madeline's steady gaze, I knew what I had to do. "Keep rolling," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. As I settled back into my seat, Madeline leaned forward. "Catalina, you've just experienced a shocking interruption. Are you okay to continue?" I nodded, taking a deep breath. "Yes, I am, because this isn't just about me and Ethan anymore. It's about every woman who's been silenced, manipulated, or made to feel less than she is." Madeline's eyes sparkled. "Then by all means, continue. The floor is yours." As I began to speak again, pouring out the full story without holding back, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. Years of pent-up emotions, of swallowed words and stifled dreams came rushing out. But with each revelation, each painful truth laid bare, I felt stronger. This was my story, my voice, and no one could take that away from me. As the interview drew to a close, Madeline asked one final question. "Catalina, what's next for you?" I smiled, feeling a surge of hope for the first time in years. "I'm not sure," I admitted, "but I know it'll be on my terms, and that's a start." As the cameras stopped rolling, I realized this wasn't just an ending. It was a beginning. My beginning. The aftermath of the interview was a whirlwind. My phone wouldn't stop ringing, my inbox overflowed, and paparazzi camped outside my hotel. But amidst the chaos, I felt an unfamiliar sense of peace. A week after the broadcast, I sat in a sleek office overlooking Los Angeles, facing a panel of executives from the streaming service. "We want to greenlight your series, Catalina," the head producer said, sliding a contract across the table. "Your story has resonated with millions. We believe it could be groundbreaking." I stared at the document, my hand trembling slightly as I reached for the pen. This was it, my chance to tell my story, on my terms. As I signed, a commotion erupted outside. Ethan's voice, loud and angry, carried through the door. "You can't do this," he shouted. "That's my life story, too." The door burst open, and there he stood, disheveled and desperate. Our eyes met, and for a moment I saw a flicker of the man I once loved. "Ethan," I said calmly, "it's over." He deflated, sinking into a chair. "Kat, please. My career is ruined. Amanda left me. I have nothing." The room fell silent, all eyes on me. This was the moment of truth, the climax of our tumultuous journey. I took a deep breath. "You're right, Ethan. You do have nothing. But that's not because of me. It's because of your choices." He looked up, his eyes pleading. "Can't we work something out, for old time's sake?" I shook my head, feeling a surge of strength. "No, Ethan. I'm done compromising myself for you. This is my story now. I'm going to tell it." As security escorted him out, I turned back to the executives. "I'm sorry about that. Where were we?" The head producer smiled. "I think we just witnessed the perfect ending to your first season." Laughter filled the room, breaking the tension. As we discussed the details of the show, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. This wasn't just a career opportunity. It was a chance at redemption, at reclaiming my voice. Months flew by in a blur of writing sessions, casting calls, and production meetings. Before I knew it, I was standing on set, watching actors bring my story to life. On the night of the premiere, I stood backstage, heart pounding. The theater was packed with industry bigwigs, critics, and fans who had followed my journey. As the lights dimmed and the first scene played, I felt a hand slip into mine. It was Phil. "You did it, Kat," he whispered. "You took control of your narrative." Tears welled in my eyes as I watched my story unfold on the big screen. The pain, the betrayal, the struggle, but also the strength, the resilience, the triumph. When the credits rolled, the audience erupted into applause. As I stepped onto the stage for the Q&A, I was met with a standing ovation. Looking out at the sea of faces, some familiar, some new, I felt a surge of gratitude. For Aunt Madeline's unwavering support, for Phil's steadfast friendship, for every person who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. As I fielded questions about the show and my journey, one reporter asked, "Catalina, what would you say to other women who feel trapped in toxic relationships?" I paused, considering my words carefully. I would say this: your story matters, your voice matters, and it's never too late to reclaim your narrative. The room fell silent, hanging on my every word. I spent years dimming my light for someone else, I continued, but the moment I decided to shine, everything changed. So to every woman out there wondering if she's strong enough, brave enough, worthy enough, the answer is yes, always yes. As the applause washed over me, I felt a profound sense of peace. This wasn't just an ending. It was a new beginning. My beginning. Later that night, as I stood on my hotel balcony overlooking the city, I pulled out my phone and dialed a familiar number. "Aunt Madeline, it's Kat. I did it. I really did it." Her warm laughter filled the line. "I never doubted you for a second, my dear. Now, tell me everything." As I recounted the evening's events, I realized that this moment of connection, of sharing, of being truly seen and heard, this was what it was all about. My story wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to every woman who had ever felt silenced, every person who had ever doubted their worth. And as I looked out at the twinkling lights of Los Angeles, I knew that the best chapters of my life were still to come.
You have no place here anymore. What are you suddenly talking about? It's not sudden at all. You've always been useless. I have devoted myself to this household. That wasn't you. The mother-in-law is making a huge mistake. I am the one who has sacrificed the most for this house. As I think about this, the mother-in-law says something even more outrageous. And anyway, my eldest son and his wife are moving here because of their childbirth, so please leave by tomorrow. I haven't heard anything about that. Well, I didn't tell you, and we decided we don't need someone useless. When did you decide that? We discussed it while you were not around. It was funny seeing you live so cluelessly. This is nothing but tyranny. There's no way I can accept this. I thought my husband would be there for me, but there's no way my husband would agree to this, seeing how desperate I am. The mother-in-law laughs louder than ever before. I've known since we got married that she doesn't have good feelings towards me, but I never imagined she would think of something this terrible. It's a pity, but you can't expect that. Even he agrees that you should leave. What? Please let me talk to him first. It won't change anything, just a waste of time. I collapse to my knees. The mother-in-law peers into my face. I feel my trust and affection for my husband fading away. Now there's no need to hold back, I thought. Or really, such foolish people. If they drive me out, they won't even be able to manage living. I have the lease for the condo we're living in, which is supposed to be the in-laws' home. Moreover, I am the one paying the rent of $5,500. What happens to them is none of my concern. And now you see, there's not a single ally for you in this house. So you're telling me to leave. It will be better for you too. Go anywhere you like. I see. Understood. My decision has been made. I take out my smartphone and call the moving company. Yes, that's right. Please take care of all the furniture and appliances. What are you talking about? I'm moving out. I need to move my belongings. I see. The next day, the mother-in-law is shocked to see the movers. She and her family will see hell. I won't stop anymore. My name is Cindy Manning, and I am 43 years old this year. Currently, I am the vice president of a company I started with a friend. I live with my husband, Peter, and his mother. Peter and I met through work when I was 35. He was running a small company at the time. He was 5 years older than me and had a calm and inclusive demeanor. Will you marry me? I'm happy, but it's okay. Just leave it to me. But trust me, I had a disease in my uterus in my 20s and had it completely removed, so I can no longer have children. Nevertheless, it was comforting that he accepted it, saying it didn't matter. He was always considerate. When we went to greet the in-laws, "This is Cindy. We're thinking of getting married." "I see." "I agree, but she's already 38, right? At that age, children." The topic of children came up, and I was startled. My heart raced and anxiety overwhelmed me. Suddenly, Peter held my hand. It felt like my heart was lightened. "It's not all about children, right?" Peter's right. It's not all about children. "But do you have any complaints?" "No, not really." The mother-in-law glared at me. She looked like she wanted to say something, but was biting her lip to endure it. That was on the way back home. "Well, we managed somehow." "Are you sure it's okay?" "It's fine." My mom might have said that, but it's only for now. I couldn't help but think he was taking things too lightly. However, the saving grace was that I didn't have much to do with the mother-in-law. Then about 6 months passed. My relationship with my husband was good, and we had no particular problems. Then something unimaginable happened to the father-in-law. "Why are you in such a hurry? What happened?" Peter returned home from work with a pale face. "It's Dad. What happened?" The father-in-law had been in an accident while out and was now gone. "For now, I'm going back home." "Wait, I'm coming with you." We immediately headed to the in-laws' house. It took us about an hour to drive there. Upon arrival, we found that Peter's brother and his wife, Hillary, were already there. I've always found Hillary, Peter's brother's wife, difficult to deal with. This was only the second time we met, and she looked at me with disdain. "You're Cindy, right? What are you doing here?" "I heard that father-in-law passed away." "Him, and I heard you can't have children." "What? Why do you know that?" Peter interjected before I could say more. This was supposed to be a secret, not even known to the mother-in-law yet. The fact that you know about it means, let's go see Dad first. I couldn't even look at the father-in-law's face. He had been hit by a car crossing the street. It was a fatal impact. I thought the mother-in-law would be devastated, but she seemed oddly pleased. Seeing her faint smile sent chills down my spine. When she spotted me, she slowly approached Peter. "Good of you to come." "Of course, after what happened to Dad." Although she said this, her voice lacked emotion. Then glaring at me, she said, "You're not recognized as part of this family." "I appreciate you coming, but could you please leave?" "Why?" "Because you can't have children, and you're not young anymore." I looked at Peter. He briefly averted his eyes. "Why?" "Well, I've been asked a lot. I couldn't keep quiet forever." Disappointed, I couldn't believe this was the same man who had once begged me to trust him. "Well, you were wrong to hide such an important thing." "I wasn't trying to hide it." "Enough excuses. Peter, say something." I mean, it seemed like he was already under their influence. Perhaps he always had been. Peter's brother appeared scared of Hillary and the mother-in-law, staying back. "Why is this happening?" "I'm sorry, but could you go back home today?" "What? I'll definitely contact you later." "Just for today." "Are you serious?" He had no words and hung his head. I couldn't understand why this was happening. "Look, don't just stand there. Go home quickly. You're in the way. Just go." I realized I couldn't stay here any longer. Feeling an indescribable sense of alienation, I struggled to hold back tears as I left. But this was just the beginning. Alone at home, I couldn't think of anything. I just sat on the sofa, staring blankly. Eventually, I fell asleep without realizing it. I was awakened by someone calling me. "Hey, wake up." You came back. I called many times, but you didn't answer, so I rushed back. Remembering what happened at the in-laws, my anger slowly began to rise. Additionally, there was a faint sweet scent coming from him. Wait, let me explain. Explain? After what you did, there was a reason for what I did. Then let me hear it. Peter took a deep breath and began to explain. Apparently, he had acted that way to deceive his mother and Hillary. But that was hardly satisfactory. Even if that's the case, why did you need to do that? Those two are always targeting you, right? I can't stand that either, really. Seeing my husband's earnest plea, I felt he truly cared for me. So you'll continue to be on my side, right? Of course. I had no choice but to rely on my husband. With the death of the father-in-law, there was no other option. The funeral went smoothly, thanks to Peter. The mother-in-law and Hillary didn't make any snide remarks during the funeral. In fact, after it ended, they looked apologetic. What's this all of a sudden? About the other day, Peter told us, and we feel sorry we said too much. Whatever the reason, please forgive us. Caught off guard by their sudden change, I struggled to find words. Then Peter intervened. Now they admitted they were wrong. Why not forgive them? If I didn't forgive them now, I felt I would look like a bad person. It was unclear if they truly regretted their actions. I hoped this would make them behave better. With these thoughts, I returned to my normal life. Things were more peaceful than I had imagined. However, that peace did not last long. I need to talk to you about something. What is it? I'm thinking about living with Mom. Why would you suddenly think that? I can't just leave Mom alone, can I? But what about your brother and his wife? Well, it seems that Hillary is pregnant. Pregnant? The news was too sudden, and I couldn't comprehend it immediately. Are you okay? I guess so. Living with the mother-in-law was troublesome enough. And now Hillary's pregnant, especially the latter. I thought it would worsen my position even more. Considering those two, they would likely ridicule me more than ever before. That came soon enough. I was invited to the in-laws' house for a celebration of the pregnancy. Well done, Hillary. Finally, I'll see my grandchild. Thank you. I, unlike someone we know, was treated as if I were invisible. However, what my husband said caught my attention. It sounded like he had always wanted Hillary to be pregnant. He had never mentioned anything like that before. After the celebration, as we headed home, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened earlier. Once home, I confronted my husband. I want to ask you something. What do you want to ask? Have you always hoped that Hillary would get pregnant? What's with this sudden question? You said something like that earlier. I was simply happy, that's all. Really? My husband clearly seemed flustered. About living together, he quickly changed the subject, which made me suspicious. But I thought it wasn't the time to delve deeper. Now the issue of living together was more pressing. So what do you want to do? I think we should cancel the lease on Mom's apartment and move her to a new place. Does your mother know about this? No, I'm going to talk to her about it now. Honestly, I'm against living together. Why didn't you see today? If we live together, I'll definitely be mistreated. Peter hesitated. If you could firmly speak up for me, I might consider it. Okay, I understand, he said, but the real issue was still his mother. Isn't this apartment nice? Isn't it a bit too large? What, do you have a complaint? There are smaller and still nice places available. As expected, the discussion was not straightforward. The mother-in-law and I were at an impasse, neither willing to budge. Seeing this, Peter stepped in. I agree with Mom's opinion. What, you see? Peter understands, I whispered to my husband. But the rent is quite high, you know. I'd like to ask you to handle that. Why? I don't want to put any additional stress on Mom, so please. His company wasn't doing well, so his reasoning wasn't completely lost on me. What are you two whispering about? Oh, we were just agreeing to take this room. Is that so? I'm looking forward to it. At that moment, I thought Peter was just trying to save face. However, his real intentions were deeper. I soon signed the lease for the apartment, and we moved in. Thus began our life together with the mother-in-law. Initially, she helped with cooking, but eventually, she just waited for me to return home and stopped doing anything herself. Yet she was always ready to criticize. What are you doing? You're too slow. Is that so? Hurry up and get ready. At this rate, it will be morning. I can finish it quickly. Once I finished setting the meal on the table, she complained about every bite. Honesty, I was never very good at cooking, so I thought that couldn't be helped. How could you serve Peter such awful food? All this time, he never complained to me. I wanted to end this situation as quickly as possible without agitating her further, but in my heart, I thought, then do it yourself. Just then, Peter came home. What's going on here, Peter? Tell her not to serve such horrible food. Calm down, please, I said. Even Peter seemed fed up with his mother's tirades. Enough, Cindy. Just clean this up, he said. With that, she returned to her room. While I was cleaning up the meal, Peter helped me. What are you doing? I asked. I thought I'd help out, he said. Then you should speak up to your mother more. Who do you think rented this expensive apartment for? I said. I know, but Peter started, but his mother's tirades didn't stop. She criticized everything I did. I wanted to make her realize who was allowing her to live here. I thought, can't you properly clean or do laundry? She asked. I was going to do that when I got back, I said. Excuses are unseemly. Didn't you receive a proper upbringing? She continued. I couldn't stand her words any longer. It was one thing to criticize me, but bringing my family into it was too much. My family is not relevant here, I said. Oh, did I upset you? She continued to provoke me. I tried to ignore her, but she wouldn't stop talking. I will take care of the cleaning and laundry. Are we done now? I asked. What? We're not done talking, she said. I really wonder why Peter chose you. Peter isn't the issue right now, is he? I replied, but Peter was complaining about you just the other day, she said. You really are oblivious, she said, looking at me. If Peter really felt that way, I decided to find out for myself. I waited for him to come home from work, but he didn't return. It was past 11:00 p.m. and still no word from him. I tried calling him, but there was no response. What are you doing there? She asked. Just waiting for my husband to come home, I replied. Such a hassle. Well, I'm going to bed then, she said. Eventually, Peter returned home at 1:00 a.m. You're still awake? He asked. I've been waiting for you to come home. Your mother told me you've been complaining about me, I said. It's not a big deal, he said. When I said I complained, what did you say? I asked. That's not important right now, he said. I was frustrated by my husband's evasiveness. Where have you been until this time? It wasn't work, was it? I asked. It was work, he said, quickly going to bed. As if to escape, once again there was a sweet smell lingering around him. I began to doubt whether our marriage should continue. I felt no benefit from our current life. The next day, when I returned from work, the mother-in-law was waiting for me, smiling creepily, and then saying something outrageous. "You have no place here anymore," she said suddenly. "What are you suddenly talking about? It's not sudden at all." "You've always been useless," she replied. "I have devoted myself to this household," I argued. "That wasn't you," she said. The mother-in-law was making a huge mistake. "I am the one who has sacrificed the most for this house," I thought. As I thought about this, the mother-in-law said something even more outrageous. "Anyway, my eldest son and his wife are moving here because of their childbirth, so please leave by tomorrow." "I haven't heard anything about that," I said. "Well, I didn't tell you, and we decided we don't need someone useless." "When did you decide that?" I asked. "We discussed it while you were not around." "It was funny seeing you live so cluelessly," she said. "This is nothing but tyranny. There's no way I can accept this," I thought. "I thought my husband would be there for me, but there's no way my husband would agree to this," I said. Seeing how desperate I am, the mother-in-law laughed louder than ever before. "I've known since we got married that she doesn't have good feelings towards me, but I never imagined she would think of something this terrible," I thought. "It's a pity, but you can't expect that even he agrees that you should leave," she said. "Please let me talk to him first. It won't change anything, just a waste of time," she replied. I collapsed to my knees. The mother-in-law peered into my face. I felt my trust and affection for my husband fading away. "Now there's no need to hold back," she said. Just then, Peter came home. I rushed to him immediately. "Your mother told me what's going on," I said. "Ah, she already talked about it," he replied. "What?" "Sorry, but you're no longer needed." Thinking about it, it's strange. You can't have kids. "Strange. You knew that before we married, didn't you?" I said. "I thought it was okay at first, but now I realize it was a mistake." Peter was indicating he would abandon me if that was his intention. I had my own plans. I thought, really, such foolish people, they can't even manage their lives. If they drive me out, Peter and his mother had grown too comfortable with their current life, forgetting that the apartment they lived in was actually leased under my name. Moreover, I was the one paying the rent of $5,500. What happened to them was none of my concern. And now you see, you have no allies in this house. So you're telling me to leave. It will be better for you too. Go anywhere you like, I said. I see, understood. My mind made up. I took out my smartphone and called a moving company. "Yes, that's right. Please handle all the furniture and appliances." "What are you talking about? I'm moving out." "I need to move my belongings," I said. "I see, sorry, I intended to show them hell." I was unstoppable. The next day I had a suggestion for the mother-in-law. "The movers will be here in the afternoon. Why don't you go out somewhere?" "You're surprisingly understanding," she said. "It's just my stuff that's moving." "Indeed, that's a good idea. Please enjoy yourselves," I replied. I sent off the mother-in-law and husband with a full smile, handing them about $500 as spending money. "You're really thoughtful, aren't you?" Peter seemed quite happy about me leaving, barely hiding his feelings. Right at 1:00 p.m., the moving company arrived. "Are you sure about this?" Peter asked. "Yes, please take everything out," I replied. These movers were the same ones I had hired when we moved here, I thought. They seemed quite surprised to be moving everything out. Several movers started carrying out the belongings. However, there was more furniture than I expected, and it was taking more time than anticipated. "What are you doing?" I quickly turned around. To my surprise, the mother-in-law and her guests, who were supposed to be out, had returned, accompanied by Peter's brother and his wife. "I'm just moving out my things." "Why are you here?" I asked. Mom wanted to see Cindy's face. "But why are you taking the other furniture too?" Peter's brother inquired. I responded with a laugh. "I told you I'm moving out my stuff. Did you forget?" But I didn't hear anything about moving everything out. Peter's brother protested. "Wait, Mother, what's going on?" "I don't understand how it came to this," Peter exclaimed. "You should ask Peter about that," I suggested. Peter then began to fumble. I didn't do anything." "That's not true, is it?" "Why don't you tell them who bought this furniture and who has been paying the rent?" "What, is that true?" Peter's brother asked incredulously. "Oh yes, it's true. Maybe you should explain better, and maybe mention that your company is struggling too," I said. While this conversation was happening, the movers finished transporting everything. "That's everything moved out. Thank you for your hard work. Please take it to the designated place," I instructed. "Understood. We'll take care of the rest later," they replied. Even the typically assertive mother-in-law was stunned, staring blankly at the now empty house. "How are we supposed to live now?" she muttered. "But what can I do?" "I only did as I was told," Peter protested. "Stop joking. You should talk to Peter about that." "I'm busy, so excuse me," I began to leave, but then Peter grabbed my arm. "Wait, please, don't go." What now?" "Shouldn't you be dealing with those two first?" The pair turned their anger toward Peter. "Both of you, calm down, calm down. This is your fault, isn't it? Really, how are you going to take responsibility? It was a distressing family dispute. Well then, you all sort it out. I have things to do. Hey, wait. I had decided to send the moved-out belongings to my parents' house for now. They had mentioned needing new furniture and appliances, so it seemed perfect. I started walking confidently towards the station when Peter's brother stopped me. "Brother, what's up?" "Actually, there's something I need to talk about." "Yes." Peter's brother had always been overshadowed by Hillary, so we hadn't talked much before. We decided to go to a cafe near the station. "But is it okay to leave those three alone like that?" "As you saw, my presence is pretty much non-existent." "So what did you want to talk about?" "It's about Hillary being pregnant, but there's something odd." "What do you mean?" "I can't believe I didn't notice until now." "I'm sterile." I was at a loss for words. Peter's brother explained that he had always felt something was off, wanting a second child. He thought something might be wrong, so he went to a urologist. The test revealed he was sterile. But that means Hillary's child is probably what you're thinking. Assuming that's true, it would explain the sense of unease I've been feeling about my husband. I thought I had gotten my revenge with the move, but it seems there's more to do this time. I can't just ignore it. I've been quiet until now. Then I'll help you. Please, I need it. I had been planning this since I heard their story. If I could bring those three down to hell, I'd use whatever means necessary. However, we need clear evidence. Leave that to me. I'll definitely catch them. Then should I act as if nothing is wrong? Just give me a little time." "Understood." After that, I changed my plans to return home and booked a nearby hotel instead. I decided to thoroughly investigate my husband and his family. A week later, Peter contacted me. He wanted to talk again. I immediately informed Peter's brother. "You've heard about it, right?" "The talk." "Yeah, about the discussion." "Yes, let's expose the truth there. It'll shock your mother. And there's something else you should prepare." 2 days later, we gathered at that house. It hadn't been long, but it felt strangely nostalgic entering the house. It was as tidy as the day I left. Only a table and chairs were set up for the number of people present. "Please take a seat." Thus, the family came face to face. "So what's this all about today?" "I want you to reconsider." "Reconsider?" "I've talked to Mom and the others. They're really sorry. That's why we want you to come back home." I sighed. They hadn't changed, nothing. In fact, we hadn't even reached a compromise at all. "Is that so?" I turned the question to the mother-in-law and Hillary. "Yes, Peter's right. We've realized we treated you terribly. So please forgive us." "Is that so?" They're saying this. See, I wanted to end this farce quickly. Before we talk about forgiveness, there's something I need you to hear. What's that? This should explain everything. I laid out all the evidence I had gathered on the table, photos of Peter and Hillary closely together, almost like a couple. "What is this?" The most shocked voice belonged to the mother-in-law. Ultimately, she too had been deceived. Isn't this proof that these two have been having an affair?" "This is fabricated." "Exactly, she's trying to set us up." Then Peter's brother spoke up. "Don't joke with me." His voice was calm, but his eyes were filled with anger and resentment. "So the two of them have been..." She couldn't fully grasp the reality. "Mother, it's too early to be shocked." "Please, go ahead, brother." "First, look at this. These are the results from when I went to the urologist." Everyone peered intently at the results. "Azoospermia, yes, which means I can't father children." "So whose child is Hillary carrying?" "Yours, right." I pointed at Peter. "We can't be sure of that yet," he said. "That's right. Cindy is just being excessive then." "How about we do a DNA test once the baby is born? That will clear everything up." Peter and Hillary remained silent. "I have something to give to Hillary," said Peter's brother. He pulled out a divorce paper from his pocket. I had advised him to prepare it beforehand. "Are you satisfied now? This way you won't have to see my face anymore." "Wait, stop embarrassing yourself," I said. Seeing this, I also presented Peter with a divorce paper. "Yes, from me too," I added quickly. "Me too, of course. Just submit it quickly." Both Peter and Hillary were disheartened with no option but to just face the divorce papers. "So they really are your children," she muttered under her breath. Then she directed an unprecedented level of anger at the two. "You really deceived me," she exclaimed. "Well, calm down, please. You were happy about having a grandchild, weren't you?" I said. "But that was because I thought they were your children together." "It's too late now, Mom." "That's right. From now on, the three of you can live together peacefully. I'll even let you stay in this house if you want." "In this house?" she exclaimed. "Oh, but the rent is $5,500, just so you know." "No, I can't afford that kind of money." "Then please leave. I'll give you some time." After that, Peter's brother and I left the three of them in the house. "I really put you through a lot, Cindy," I said. "No thanks to you," she replied. "I feel much better." "I'm relieved to hear you say that. And there's still something left to do, like filing for compensation." "That will definitely be a huge blow for them," I said. I then parted with Peter's brother and returned to the hotel. I had one last finish to make on those two. I was quite tired and quickly laid down on the bed. I felt like my phone was buzzing continuously, but I ignored all of it. When I woke up, it was 9:00 p.m. I thought, really, such idle people, I muttered. There were nearly 100 calls from Peter and his mother on my phone. Thinking I'd probably never deal with them again, I decided to call back. "Hello," Peter's mother answered. "You finally answered." "I've talked it through with Mom. She's acknowledged the child." Now it's just you, huh? I don't understand. But why don't the three of you live happily together? Aren't you coming back? She asked. Why should I come back to a man who had a child with another woman? Please, I need you, Peter pleaded. I don't need you. Bye. 2 days after this call, a voicemail informed me that the divorce papers had been filed. It seems Peter's brother was able to divorce successfully too. I then proceeded with the compensation claim. Peter and Hillary would definitely have to pay for their deeds. The three of them seemed to have made arrangements to move out quickly. Peter apparently wanted to remarry, but ultimately he fell out with the mother-in-law, and they no longer communicate. How are you? I reached out to the mother-in-law. I was curious about how she was living now. What do you want now? She snapped. I just wanted to hear your voice, I said. Thanks to you, we're in a mess. I heard you've been abandoned by Peter and the others. Whose fault is that? She retorted. You reap what you sow. Good luck living on your own life without the troublesome people. I was quiet and very comfortable. From now on, I would spend time and money only for myself. It's been a while since I looked forward to living alone. My name is Molly, and I'm turning 32 this year. I work as a salesperson at a certain company. My husband's name is Mike, and he was my high school classmate. This year marks our 10th wedding anniversary. We started dating in high school and continued our long-distance relationship even after going to college. However, our feelings for each other remained unchanged, and we got married right after graduation. Although we dated for a long time before getting married, we still love each other very much. Shortly after getting married, our eldest daughter, Kate, was born. She's turning 9 this year. Currently, I'm pregnant with our second child, and I'm excited about giving birth after a long time. However, unlike when I was pregnant with Kate, I've noticed significant changes in my health this time. During work hours, I felt nauseous and got unusually sleepy, which I never experienced before. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, and it's harder to recover from all the tiredness, even after I sleep. Or maybe it's the stress from work and taking care of our child. I considered various possibilities, but when I used an over-the-counter pregnancy test, it confirmed that I was pregnant. When I was pregnant with Kate, I had no noticeable changes in my health to the extent that I was unaware of the pregnancy. Perhaps because I didn't experience it with my eldest daughter, the morning sickness feels even more intense now. Working in sales, I struggled with the symptoms of morning sickness while trying to keep up with daily tasks. However, I thought it would affect my work if it continued this way, so I decided to take some days off after consulting my boss. When I discussed it with my husband, he seemed to remember clearly when Kate was born. Therefore, he seemed surprised and unsettled by the severity of my morning sickness this time around. This time your morning sickness is really bad, huh? Well, it's best if you take a break from work for a while. The morning sickness is far worse than when I was pregnant with Kate, and I'm not feeling well at all. I want to take a break until at least I get into a stable period and focus on my health and the baby's health. I had hoped that my health would improve once I took some days off. However, the morning sickness didn't subside at all. In fact, it seems to be getting worse day by day, and even staying at home didn't help at all. The symptoms are so severe that I can't manage household chores and spend most of the day in bed. Having taken the leave, I really want to at least manage the household tasks, but I can't move as I'd like to. Especially laundry, as the scent of the detergent makes me nauseous, and I can't handle it properly. Initially, Mike seemed concerned about me. However, recently, he seems to be getting frustrated with my condition. He might be thinking, since you're not working, at least handle the household chores, right? Unable to even manage household chores, I felt ashamed of myself, and I felt sorry for Mike, who was busy with work. Since then, Mike has completely changed, almost like a different person. We used to hug every morning before he left for work, but now he leaves silently. Mike's been swamped with work, often coming home late due to overtime. He handles tasks like document preparation, data entry, and phone calls at his job. Though overtime was always a given in his line of work, since I gave birth to Kate, he reduced it to spend some quality time with her. Being dual income earners, he wanted to reduce my burden, and thus ensured that chores were evenly divided. Yet recently, he's not been helping much, and overtime has been consistent. Me being on leave, and the reduction in income probably pushed Mike to strive harder at work for our family. Perhaps he'd prefer if I handled all the household chores. While I understand his perspective, with my morning sickness, I can't meet his expectations right now. One night, I mustered up the courage to ask for his help. "You've been working so hard lately, especially since I've taken the leave." "I'm sorry." "Well, I have to earn more for the family, especially with the overtime." "I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I can't do much housework. The morning sickness is severe. The smell of the detergents and any meals make me nauseous." "Really? So can you please come home a bit earlier and help out with the chores? Once I feel better, I'll return to work." Upon hearing my plea, Mike's face clearly showed his displeasure. Don't we have our own rules? I'm working hard, even with overtime, to support the family. So Molly, please take care of the house. I understand, but you can't neglect household chores just because of your morning sickness. Mike suddenly raised his voice. And please lower your voice. Kate might wake up. You're being too easy on yourself, Molly. I'm also having a tough time working overtime nonstop. Even if your morning sickness is bad, please take care of the chores. Okay, I understand. I was being too easy on myself. Mike had never shown this much emotion before. I kept thinking if Kate found out, it might hurt her feelings. I repeatedly apologized and tried to calm him down. However, no amount of my apologies seemed to pacify his anger. He went to our bedroom with a sullen face and disappeared. I had hoped to ask for his cooperation, even just a little, but I was disappointed that my husband wouldn't even listen to me. I felt it was unusual for my usually calm husband to show such intense anger. I think my husband might have some other concerns. With this thought in mind, I felt uneasy. The next morning, I was awakened by the sound of the front door opening. It seems my husband left for work earlier than usual. Maybe he didn't want to see me because of what happened last night. I was deeply hurt by my husband's sudden rejection. Sighing and sitting down, I noticed Kate had woken up and come down to the living room. Kate seemed uncomfortable and sat down next to me. "Mom, I heard the conversation between you and Dad last night." "Oh, you did?" Kate must have been shocked to hear how my husband acted. As I tried to comfort her, Kate looked at me sharply and said, "It's terrible that Dad wouldn't even listen. You are pregnant and suffering from morning sickness, and he was yelling, which is totally unlike him." It was scary. She then spread her arms out wide in a gesture of disbelief and sighed. "Mom, rest up. I'll help out with the chores. I'm sorry I haven't helped until now." From that morning, Kate started helping out proactively with household chores. Since she learned how to do chores from a young age, I can rely on her confidently. I was genuinely pleased to see how kind-hearted my daughter had become. Since that argument, the strained relationship with my husband continued. He now often leaves home early and returns late with hardly any conversation between us. With the birth of our second child approaching, I started to feel anxious. Just when I thought our relationship was beyond repair, Kate shared some unexpected news. "Mom, something's wrong." One evening, as soon as Kate returned from school, she said this with a pale face. "Kate, what's wrong? Are you hurt?" She shook her head, gesturing no. "No, I'm not hurt, but I feel sick." What happened? Kate looked down, biting her lower lip, wondering if she should speak or not. "What happened? Calm down and tell me." Tears welled up in Kate's eyes as I spoke warmly to her. On the way home from school, I saw Dad and Abby's mom kissing. Really? Abby is a good friend of Kate's. I knew it right away because they played together all the time, and she comes to our house too. It seems that Kate witnessed the scene of an affair between her father and Abby's mother. Unable to control her emotions, she sobbed into my chest. "Oh my God. Calm down, honey." To calm Kate down, I gently hugged her. My husband, who I thought was irreplaceable, became an object of hatred in an instant because of the affair. Unable to forgive my husband's infidelity, I vowed revenge. To do so, I had to gather thorough evidence of my husband's infidelity. In order to obtain evidence of my husband's infidelity, I began to investigate. I immediately searched the rooms while my husband was away. I was dismayed to find a large number of receipts that I had never seen before. My morning sickness was so bad that I couldn't clean up much, so he thought he could do whatever he wanted. I was furious that I was being so disrespected like that. I took a closer look at the receipts and found that they were for very expensive brand-named bags and accommodations. I looked at the receipts and wondered whose money paid for these expensive purchases. I gasped as I remembered something. With a burning desire to confirm the truth, despite being pregnant, I managed to make my way to the bank. Upon reflection, I realized it had been a long time since I left the house, and it was rare for me to go out like this due to morning sickness. I wasn't feeling well, and the sunlight beamed through. When I finally arrived at the bank, my hands trembled from nervousness as I got out my passbook. There I was confronted with a reality I wished I could avoid. Just as I suspected, it's from this account. Mike and I had opened a joint account to manage our finances after our marriage. The joint account was the destination for both of our salaries. From that account, we paid for our living expenses and saved the rest. We saved for our future, for our children's education, and for purchasing our own home. This joint account was also the one charged for Mike's frequent purchases of high-end items like designer bags on his credit card. This alone was enough to fuel my anger, but an even more shocking revelation awaited. Even though he's supposed to be working overtime, Mike's salary hasn't increased. Why? His company was known for being employee-friendly, meaning his salary should have increased with overtime hours. Yet despite claims of working overtime, his salary didn't change at all. At that moment, all the mysteries were unraveled, revealing a startling truth. His late returns home were merely because he was having an affair with Abby's mother. It was clear from not getting any overtime pay that Mike hadn't been working the extra hours he claimed. While I, who's pregnant and unwell, was going through such tough times, Mike didn't offer any support and instead engaged in an affair, which left me deeply disappointed. One evening, while Mike was in the bath, I determinedly took his smartphone, trying not to alert Mike. My hands trembled with tension as I entered the passcode on the phone's lock screen. And just like that, the phone unlocked. Perhaps Mike had let his guard down, thinking my severe morning sickness had made me less vigilant. The realization that he'd underestimated me so much also fueled my growing anger. But as I kept my cool, I checked the contents of the smartphone. In the chat app, there were clear exchanges between Mike and Abby's mother that confirmed their affair. I told my wife I have overtime so we can meet tonight. Really? Can we meet tonight? I can't wait to see you. The chat exchanges between Mike and Abby's mother were embarrassingly full of heart emojis. If I still had strong affection for my husband, witnessing such betrayal would have surely driven me to madness. But now that I no longer have any feelings of love for him, I was able to focus calmly on gathering evidence. When I looked at their recent text messages, I found out they were planning to go on a trip. The trip was scheduled for a week starting from the weekend, with the intention of enjoying various hikes. Of course, my husband didn't inform me about this trip. I was curious to hear what excuse he'd give on the day of the trip, so I waited patiently. Finally, the morning of the trip day arrived. Despite it being a holiday, my husband was very busy with the preparations for the trip from early in the morning. "Good morning. What's got you so busy this early?" Caught off guard, my husband looked rather surprised. "Oh, well, you see, what are you doing up so early?" I woke up hearing some noise. "What's with the suitcase? Are you going on a trip?" "I have a company trip for a week starting today. I thought I told you. Just wait, I'll buy you a nice souvenir." "Did you? Maybe I just forgot. My bad." Seemingly having heard the commotion, Kate woke up too. Kate seemed curious about today, and with a slightly dazed expression, she spoke to her father. "Dad, what's happening? Are you leaving?" "He's going on a company trip. He'll bring back a souvenir, so let's look forward to it." "Got it. Can't wait for the souvenir." "Take care." With our smiles, my husband left the house with a wry smile. After my blatantly lying husband left, we looked at each other and burst into laughter. Dad's voice was shaking when he lied. With that, anyone could tell he was lying. After sharing a good laugh, we began discussing our next steps. "Okay, I'm about to discuss something important. Listen carefully. I'm thinking of getting a divorce. I believe it's crucial for you too, so I'd like to hear your thoughts." Kate, being only 9, said, "I think it's better for you to get a divorce. I'm embarrassed and don't like having a father who cheats on Mom. I'm sure Abby would feel the same." Did something happen with Abby too? Throughout our discussion, Kate seemed concerned about Abby's situation. Abby's mom used to just relax at home and never did anything, but she suddenly disappeared, so Abby was really upset. Just as my husband betrayed our trust, it seems that Abby's mother also betrayed her daughter's trust. Upon hearing this fact, I felt strongly that there should be no compromise when it comes to taking revenge on them. Abby seems to be going through a lot too. We need to punish both of them. I felt a surge of motivation that I could never have imagined before. With determination, I took action. First, to stop my husband from spending any money, I canceled our credit cards. I decided it was necessary to fairly divide the savings in our joint account, so I transferred half of it to my account. To avoid disputes over property division in the divorce, I decided to secure my assets early on. Kate and I started packing up our belongings. I had already explained the situation to my parents, so we decided to move back to my parents' home. Kate, let me confirm once more. Once we divorce, we can't come back to this house. Are you really okay with that? Yes, I'm okay. Then let's go to Grandpa and Grandma's house. Yes, let's go quickly. Kate seemed to be filled with anticipation. She seemed neither sad about our divorce nor mournful, but rather had a cheerful look, which put my mind at ease for the moment. We completed the move to my parents' house in high spirits. I decided to let go of the house filled with memories of our time with my husband and start a new chapter in my life. This decision came after discovering a message exchange between my husband and Abby's mother. "Oh, I want to be freed from that house as soon as possible. I want a divorce right away and live with you." From the messages, it appeared that Abby's mother had already moved back to her parents' home. To think she would abandon her family, including her young daughter, for an affair and selfishly move back to her parents' house is unbelievable. I found out that my husband had visited Abby's mother's parents' house from the history on his car navigation system. I packed up my husband's belongings and sent them to that address. I sent his belongings to his mistress, Abby's mother, and subsequently terminated our house. This way, my husband would be able to live freely with Abby's mother. Since my husband insisted he was on a company trip, I sent his valuables along with a letter to his company. Having emptied the house, the weight on my heart lifted, and I felt refreshed and ready to take a new step forward. The next morning, I received an early call from my husband. "Molly, I'm sorry, I seem to be running out of money. It looks like I forgot some cash at home." "Oh dear, that's a bummer. I'm really in a bind. Can you transfer some money to my account, even if it's just a little? Actually, things are a bit tight for me this month. Since you're on a company trip, maybe you can borrow from a colleague." "Well, about that, just explain your situation and borrow from your colleagues. I'm having severe morning sickness right now, and it's hard for me to talk. I'm hanging up." "Wait, hold on." I felt a bit better knowing that my husband couldn't use his credit card anymore. It's easy to imagine that this made the pleasant trip with his mistress very tense for him. The phone calls from my husband didn't stop. I sent him a message saying I have severe morning sickness and can't answer the phone. Don't call me anymore. No matter how many times he called, I didn't answer. 3 days later, I received another call from him and reluctantly picked up. "Molly, why is the house empty? What's going on?" Weren't you supposed to be on a trip for 7 days? Why are you back so soon?" My husband was initially at a loss for words, but his anger quickly erupted. "Everything's gone. Even the contract has been terminated. Isn't that too selfish?" "Who's being selfish now? You were on a trip with your mistress, right? I sent all our stuff to Abby's parents' house and started the divorce proceedings. Everything's going according to your wishes. Goodbye and good luck." "What? You found out about the affair and you're divorcing me." Realizing that I knew about his affair and even who the other woman was, he was visibly shaken. I hung up and deleted all his contacts from my phone. With nowhere to go, my husband seemingly took refuge at Abby's parents' house. At their house, Abby's mother was kneeling with her head down, and across from her sat her parents, her husband and Abby, all of them looking furious. Apparently, Abby's mother had returned home, claiming she couldn't bear the emotional abuse from her husband. Her parents believed her and felt sorry for her, but the reality was different. Since they found out she had been lying and was even having an affair, there was no way they would forgive her. Abby's mother and my husband were both severely reprimanded, made to sign divorce papers in front of everyone, and forced to pay for compensation. Afterwards, her parents kicked them both out. Since returning to my parents' home, Kate and I have been living freely. My worries disappeared, and my morning sickness subsided, allowing me to return to work after my maternity leave was finished. Every day, Kate seems to enjoy playing with her grandparents after returning from school. The divorce proceedings went smoothly, thanks to the support of my lawyer. Of course, I had ample evidence which allowed the divorce to proceed in my favor. In order to secure my ex-husband's income, I demanded both compensation and child support payments and sent a letter to his company asking them not to let him resign. His boss, who is a married man with children, saw the letter and was furious. He negotiated with the company to deduct compensation and child support payments from my ex-husband's salary. With this boss always keeping a close eye on my ex-husband's actions, even if he faced any challenges at work, It seems unlikely he will be able to quit his job that easily. My ex-husband is financially struggling because he spent too much money on his mistress's lavish lifestyle. On top of that, having lost his home, he is forced to live in a cheap company dorm, making it hard for him to quit his job easily. Abby and her father have now found peace. Abby has accepted her parents' divorce and seems to smile more compared to before. She told Kate that she genuinely enjoys living with her father. Knowing that Abby is living a happy life brought genuine relief to my heart. Soon after, I gave birth to a lovely baby boy. The fact that my ex-husband can't hold my beloved son in his arms shows how foolish he was. When Kate saw her adorable brother, she cheered in delight. I looked at both my beloved daughter and son's faces and vowed in my heart to raise both of them well. Hello, my name is Bridget. I'm 36 years old and a mother to my beautiful son, Grayson, who is 7 years old. Recently, our lives got thrown into a whirlwind when I found out that my husband had been cheating on me. But I did not let him get away with it easily. Let me tell you how things went down. I met my husband, Damon, on the dating app. We clicked really well. We never seemed to run out of conversations. Not to mention we share the same sense of humor, and he made me laugh like no one else had. I'm only saying all this because these qualities of his blinded me from seeing all the negative qualities that he had. For starters, he was a 26-year-old man who still lived with his mother because he could not seem to hold a job down. I tried my best to get him to attend interviews for jobs that I took the time to set and apply for, but he just never seemed to care that much about it. On top of that, his mother, Shirley, hated me. I have no idea why she hated me, but now I realize it was because I was not rich enough to enable her lazy son's lifestyle. She would always tell Damon that he could do better than me while I was standing right there. She would make snide remarks about me and would insult me at every point that she could. At no point did Damon ever stand up for me and correct his mother. Instead, he would try to make me feel better and would tell me to just ignore the things his mother said and did. And so that was what I did. I learned to ignore what Shirley said to me, even though her words hurt me. I truly was blinded by love for Damon. Because when he proposed to me after 2 years of dating, I said yes. Shirley was not happy about us getting engaged, and neither were my parents because they really didn't like Damon for obvious reasons. So Damon and I eloped about a year after we got married. I got pregnant with my son Grayson. Grayson truly was the only light in my life at that point. I say that because after giving birth to Grayson, my workload only increased. Initially, Damon got a job, and for the first few months of Grayson's life, we were doing well. But then he lost his job, and I had to pick up extra hours. Then, a few months later, Damon would land himself a better job, only to lose it again. This cycle continued for the next 7 years until finally, Damon landed a good job after Grayson's 7th birthday. He was getting paid well, and while I didn't hold out much hope for him keeping it, he surprisingly stayed there for over 6 months, which was a huge surprise. I was finally beginning to settle into my new comfortable life until one day Damon told me about a conversation that he had with his mother. So I was talking to my mom today, and she told me that she was feeling all alone at home. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, she doesn't have many people to meet or many places to go. I just feel really bad about it, you know. Of course, I would love to go over and maybe keep her company some days after work, but you know how she doesn't like me. Yeah, I don't think that would make her feel any better, but she did propose an idea to me, and I told her that I'd run it by you before giving her an answer. Okay, what is it? She suggested that I send Grayson over every weekend, and some weekends I could even stay with the two of them, and I'm not invited at all. You know how she feels about you. I mean, you said it yourself. Yeah, but don't you think it really means that she's purposely trying to exclude me from my own family? I see where you're coming from, but I also can't just ignore my mother. You can't ignore your mother, but you can ignore and isolate your wife. That's amazing, Damon. Oh, come on, there's no need to be so dramatic about this. Just give me a straight answer, yes or no. I am not being dramatic, Damon. How would you feel if the tables were turned? Of course, I'd feel bad, but this is the family we're talking about. Besides, Grayson loves Mom, and I'm sure he'd be happy to spend his time with her. I know that. It's just sad how you'll always pick your mother over me, even when she's treating me so wrong. Come on, that's not true. I always pick your side. I mean, I agree with you right now that my mom doesn't treat you right. Agreeing with me in private does not show me anything. Your actions tell me everything I need to know. Why am I even fighting you on this? Do whatever you want. My relationship with Shirley hadn't gotten any better even after I gave birth to Grayson. I knew she did not like me in any way, but for her to actively exclude me from any and all family time that I had with Grayson made me so angry and upset. Damon kept pressing me for an answer as the weekend drew nearer. At some point, I realized that I needed to prioritize Grayson over my feelings, so I asked him if he would like to spend his weekends with his grandmother. Grayson was enthusiastic about the idea, so I told Damon that he could go the first weekend that Grayson went over to Shirley's house. Damon also accompanied him, so I was left at home all alone. Even though I felt sad, I took that time to finally rest up and spend some quality time with my family and friends. When Grayson returned on Sunday evening, I noticed that he had been dropped off by Shirley's friend and that he came back home with a bag of gifts for him. I got a call from Shirley shortly. After "Hello, Bridget, did Grayson reach home safely?" "Hi, Shirley. Yes, he just did." "I'm so sorry that I could not drop him off myself. I had some important errands to run." "It's okay. Grayson's home safe. He had a blast at your place. Thank you for having him over." "Of course, I love having him over. Thanks for agreeing to it." "I hope I'm not taking away any of your time with Grayson." "No, it's okay. I make time for him daily. Besides, he loves going over to your place, especially now that you spoil him with gifts. Which, by the way, thank you so much." "Nonsense. There's no need to thank me. Grayson is my only grandson, so I have to spoil him as best I can." "Yeah, Grayson takes very good care of the gifts you give him. It's the first time I've seen him be so careful with things." "Really? That's good to hear. But even if he didn't take care of them, I'd still buy him those things again. After all, I have that kind of money to spend on him." "Yeah, well, I think it's still a good lesson for him to learn. The lesson is that he always has to take good care of his things because his mother is too poor to buy him things again." "Excuse me. Look, between you and I only invited Grayson over every weekend because I was tired of seeing him look poor. You're clearly not doing enough to provide for him, so I want to spoil him. Why are you blaming me for that? Your son can barely hold down a job, so I'm the one who's stuck paying all the bills and looking after us. Don't you dare blame Damon for anything. The poor boy's been through enough. What are you even talking about? If it wasn't for me, we'd be starving in the streets right now. He has to deal with an incompetent wife like you. Of course, his mental health is in the gutter right now, which is not allowing him to hold down a job. You know what? You're absolutely insane. You can't see a single flaw in your son, and even if you do, you're just projecting them onto me. That's something you need to seek help for. You don't tell me what to do. I can see why else Damon is always stressed out. You just always have an answer for everything. I don't want to talk to you much anyway. I only called to check in on Grayson, but bye." I couldn't believe the nerve that Shirley had to talk to me in that manner. I wanted to call her back and really chew her out for being so mean to me, but I didn't. I knew that we already had a very rocky relationship, and the last thing I wanted was for Grayson to recognize that there was something wrong between his mother and grandmother. So even though I didn't want to send Grayson over to Shirley's after that conversation, I continued to do it because it made him happy. I never spoke to Shirley after that either because that was the only way that I knew how to keep my mind at peace. That's how things went for the next 3 months, until one day Grayson came back home from Shirley's house carrying a very expensive-looking bag. A quick look at the price tag told me that it was $11,000. Wow, what a nice bag. I know, right? Oh wow, is this a designer bag? And hold on, is this a price tag? It's very expensive. Yeah, Grandma told me that I needed to be extra careful with this bag because it's really expensive. Grayson, sweetie, I think you need to give Grandma the backpack back. What? Why? Because it's a very expensive backpack. You might dirty it or even lose it. Besides, I don't think it'll look nice when you walk into class with this bag. Other children might damage it too. But I like this bag. I know, sweetie, but I really don't think it's wise for you to walk around with such an expensive bag. Why don't you give it back to Grandma so she can keep it safely till you grow just a little bit older? Why would I return the bag to Grandma? Because she bought you the bag, silly. No, she didn't. What do you mean? Did Daddy buy you the bag? He doesn't have that kind of money, though. No, Grandma didn't buy the bag. But my new mom did. New mom. Sweetie, what are you talking about? Daddy made me go over to Grandma's every weekend so he could introduce me to my new mom. She's so rich and pretty, and she buys me everything I want. And Grandma knows about this new mom. Yeah, Daddy told me that Grandma made Daddy and new mom meet. Daddy says that she makes him very happy. Do you like your new mom, sweetie? Yes, I like her a lot. She always tells me that when she becomes my new mom officially, she's going to take me far away with my dad. Oh, okay, that's enough about the new mom. Why don't you get washed up, and we'll eat dinner together? I tried to make sense of what Grayson told me, but I really couldn't. Of course, I knew deep down inside what Grayson was actually saying. Damon was cheating on me with someone that Shirley probably introduced him to, considering how she always thought that I was no good for her son. I didn't want to believe that at all, and I tried to put that conversation with Grayson out of my mind for the rest of the week. But I found myself unable to do that, and just 3 days later, I finally gave in and went through Damon's phone when he fell asleep. What I found shocked me to my core. Damon was cheating on me, and it was with a woman named Vivian. A quick look at her socials told me that she was the daughter of one of the biggest businessmen in our city, and she was a civil lawyer. That explains how she was able to give Grayson such an expensive gift. That was not the shocking part, though. The shocking part was that Damon had told Vivian that he had divorced me and talked about me like I was a wicked ex who only tormented him and took away his full custody of Grayson. He invented lie after lie about how I ruined his life and how I was the reason that he struggled to get a job. The job that he had was because Vivian pied him and found him that job. My blood was boiling. I couldn't believe that I spent all my time and energy working so hard to provide for this man-child, only for him to throw it all in my face and call me wicked. I texted Vivian from my social media account and introduced myself to her. The next day, I told her that I had something important to tell her and asked her if we could meet at a coffee shop. She agreed. The next day, I was nervous, but I knew that I was doing the right thing. Eventually, Vivian walked in and approached me. Hey, I'm Vivian. Are you Bridget? Yes, hi. It's so nice to meet you. You too. So what are we meeting about? First of all, I just wanted to thank you for the expensive gift that you gave my son, Grayson. It really was such a sweet gesture, but I really don't think it's right for a child to have such an expensive bag. Oh no, it's okay. Hey, Damon told me that you would not really like the expensive bag. I didn't mean to offend you in any way, though. I just wanted to give it to Grayson because I thought he'd like it. Grayson loved it, but I still don't think it's appropriate. But what do you mean by you didn't mean to offend me? Well, Damon told me that you were struggling as a single parent and that seeing such an expensive bag would probably hurt your ego. Wow, that's rich coming from him. But speaking of Damon, the other reason that I asked you to meet me was about him. Oh, what about him? It seems like he's told you that he and I have divorced and we share custody of Grayson. Yes, well, his mother told me actually. Her mom and my mom are friends that happened to reconnect a few months ago. My mom told his mom that I was single, so they set us up. Oh, wow, okay. I did not know that. But I need to tell you that Damon and I are still very much married. What? You're lying to me. Damon told me that you tried to sabotage our relationship because you were jealous that he was moving on. I have no reason to lie. Where do you think Damon lives? With his mother. No way, I'm the one that he still lives with because we're still married. I have to say, this is very prophetic of you to do. I didn't think you were the best person to begin with, but to lie and sabotage someone's relationship out of pure jealousy is just sad. Do me a favor, the next time you see Damon, why don't you ask him to show you our divorce certificate? You have my number in case you want to get even with him. I watched silently as Vivian grabbed her things and left me sitting at the same table. She stormed off angrily towards her car. I hoped really hard that my words had some impact on her and she'd take me up on my suggestion. I sat at that coffee shop for a little while longer because I really did not feel like going back home. Until I eventually left to go back home, I looked into Vivian some more because I was curious about what kind of person she was. She was apparently a really good person. She volunteered for a lot of different things, depending on how much free time she had. She regularly donated to women's and children's homes, and overall seemed to be a generous person. That made me understand just why Grayson adored her so much. Not for her generosity only, but also because she was genuinely a nice person. The more I thought about it, the more I really did feel bad for Vivian. If I found out that my relationship with someone turned out to be a lie that resulted in me doing something that I was okay with, I would not want to believe it. I really prayed and hoped that Vivian would see that I was right, because I wanted more than anything to ruin Damon's life for what he did to me, Grayson, and our family. My prayers were answered in 2 weeks. I was at work when I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't pick it up at first because I don't pick up unknown calls, but the number called me again and again back to back. Eventually, I picked it up and realized that it was Vivian on the other end. My heart was in my throat because of how nervous I was about what she was going to tell me. Hey, Bridget, can we talk? Hi, yes, of course. Is everything all right? No, it's not. Did I prove you right, or are you going to yell at me again? I'm so sorry for the way I left you last time we met. It's okay, I understand that it's hard to digest information like that. It really was. I'm a woman who has very strict morals, and helping a man cheat on his partner or spouse is something I absolutely loathe. I would never have done it, and I'm so sorry that I did it with your husband. Whoa, how did you confirm that Damon was married? Well, for the past week or so, I kept badgering him with questions about the divorce. I kept asking to see the divorce papers. Let me guess, he snapped at you eventually. Oh yeah, big time. He started yelling at me at the top of his lungs. Aside from a lot of cuss words, He also called me insecure for not trusting him. That immediately raised a lot of alarms in my head. I'm not surprised that Damon wouldn't change even when he was with another woman. But how did you get the confirmation for his lies? I approached Shirley. She was the one that introduced me to Damon, so she had to have the answers. She did not give you your answer easily, did she? I knew she wouldn't, so I approached her like how I would approach my clients. I essentially goaded it out of her. When she realized that she had slipped up, she kept apologizing for tricking me and told me that she had no option because Damon was in a miserable relationship. She told me that Damon was still in the process of filing for a divorce, but even I knew that was a lie. Oh wow, what did you say to that? I just told her that she and her son were disgusting people. I picked my things up and left. I called you immediately to apologize. I really am sorry for coming in between you and Damon. You have nothing to apologize for. Damon and Shirley tricked you. If you had known, you never would have involved yourself in a relationship with him. Besides, you've made your amends by believing me and asking for proof of divorce. You told me last time that you wanted to take revenge. Is that option still on the table? Of course, I just need to figure out how to go about doing it. And I kind of was counting on your legal advice to help plan out a revenge. Oh, I've got a lot of good ideas to get back at Damon. How about we meet at the same coffee shop tomorrow and plan everything out? That sounds good. I was so happy that Vivian was a good person with a conscience. I was even happier that I managed to get her on my side. We met up the next day at the coffee shop. Vivian looked like she hadn't slept at all, and my heart really went out to her because I was in the same boat as her. I understood her heartbreak all too well. That understanding that we shared was actually, in an odd way, comforting. We spent the first hour of our meeting just talking about how we felt. We even cried a little. I felt like I had found a new friend in her. As funny as that is, it was true. Once we were done feeling our feelings, we got to talking about our plan. Within half an hour, we had drawn up our plan. Vivian was a woman of immense influence, and she used her influence and connections to help Damon get his good job. In the same way that she had gotten him that job, she took his job away from him. But that was not before she helped me out. She got me acquainted with a lawyer friend of hers who specialized in divorces. Her friend helped me get all my affairs in order and also helped me gather all the proof and evidence necessary to get full custody of Grayson. I started the filing process for the divorce, and when we got the divorce papers in our hands, we planned to drop both news on Damon at the same time to worsen the blow and embarrass him. So Vivian pulled her strings and had Damon fired publicly. To be fair, he was lousy with his work, and the only reason he was still there was because of Vivian's connections. On top of that, I had the divorce papers served to him just after he got fired, in front of all his colleagues. It didn't take long for Damon to call me and demand answers for what was happening. What is this? Oh, I see that you got the divorce papers. Yes, and they were served to me while I was at work. Do you know how embarrassing that was for me, especially on the day that I lost my job? You lost your job. That does not matter. Why are you trying to divorce me? Are you serious? Of course I am. What have I done to you to deserve this, Damon? Don't try and act like you've been the perfect husband. I'm tired of you, and I want out. Is this all about my mother? Can you not, for 1 second, make everything about you and your feelings? Do my feelings not matter at all? I mean, I totally see why my mother hates you, right? That's why you were cheating on me with Viv and your mom's friend's daughter. What? How do you? How do you think you lost your job, huh? You planned this. More like Vivian was more than angry that you lied to her about being divorced. She has some very strict morals, all of which you knew, apparently, and you made her violate them. What did you say to her? I only told her that you were still married to me. That set her off, and she took her revenge. Now it's my turn. You can't leave me. I have nothing. How do I live now? Go live with your mother, who cares so much for you that she enables you to cheat on your hardworking wife and break your family. Look, I'm so sorry. I promise I'll be better. I'll cut all ties with my mom. Please don't leave me. You already told Vivian that we were divorced, and I'm just making this a reality. Everything that you want to do to make up for your pathetic behavior will not work. It's a little too late for apologies. What did you expect from me? The two most important women in my life hated each other's guts, and I was always in the middle of the crossfire. And you still chose your mother, which means I was never important to you from the start. I really don't have anything more to discuss with you like this. Just get yourself a lawyer and communicate with mine. You need to take your things and get out of this house. You can't make me leave my own home. Is it your house? Because last time I checked, the house is in my name, and I've been the only one that's paid for the mortgage. I've packed your things. Take it and leave. I hung up on Damon after that. It broke my heart that things had to end this way. I really tried my absolute best to be the person that he'd love and cherish, but getting my revenge on him made me feel like everything I did for him was justified, especially since he only felt apologetic when he realized that he lost both the women that he was trying to mooch off of. His audacity was truly astounding, and I wanted nothing more to do with him. I called my dad over to be with me until Damon came back, because I didn't think that he'd actually leave on his own. Thankfully, my dad arrived about 10 minutes before Damon showed up. When Damon came home, he didn't see my dad and began to yell at me at the top of his lungs because I was not a good wife and told me that was the reason that he found another woman to look after his needs. My dad came when he heard what was happening from the living room and came in to tell Damon that it was prophetic that he relied on someone else to provide for him instead of getting a proper job to do that for himself. Damon shrunk back into himself when he saw my dad, who is a big, muscular guy by the way, and always intimidated Damon because my dad never liked him. Damon picked his things up with his head hanging low and walked out of the house, but not before dropping the signed divorce papers in front of me. He knew it was not going to be a smart decision to contest a divorce, especially since he wouldn't have the funds to pay for a lawyer. It was really hard to tell Grayson about why his dad was no longer going to be around the house. Grayson was thankfully really understanding. He did ask me about Vivian, and I told him that Vivian would swing by every once in a while to meet him. She really did take a liking to him and asked me if she could continue to visit him from time to time. I knew that Grayson really liked her too, so I saw no point in stopping them from seeing each other, especially since she helped me get my revenge on Damon. I knew that she was a good person who was just coerced into doing something bad. My divorce with Damon is still in the process, but Grayson and I are moving on to better things. Now that I have a freer budget, I get to actually spoil my son, and seeing him so happy is the only thing that's keeping me going. Vivian and I have become good friends, and we meet up every other week, and sometimes even have a good long laugh at Damon using her connections. Vivian told me that Damon is still struggling to make ends meet, and he's back to living with his mother. He's been applying everywhere to get a better job, but Vivian made sure that he would not get a job in his field in our city at all. At best, he'd have to move away, or he'd have to settle for working in low-paying jobs. Whatever it is, I'm happy that my son and I have come away from that experience completely fine and happy. Thank you for listening to my story.